Welcome to this explainer. Okay, I want you to picture this. You step out into the blinding 92-degree heat. Your eyes are immediately watering, your chest gets super tight, and inside Joan Freed's head, there was literally only one thought bouncing around between these raspy allergic coughs: I have to get out of here. Today we're dropping right into the passenger seat of her mind for a really cinematic story about two women on the move.
Why am I becoming obsessed with making this journey? It's this looping question that just keeps echoing in Joan's mind. She's actively wrestling with this sudden, undeniable, kind of magnetic urge to pack up her entire life and drive 3,500 miles straight north to Alaska. The impulse is just completely consuming her. But, to understand why she has this burning need to run, we first have to understand what exactly she's running from.
So, to set the scene for you, we're down in the desert southwest of North America. And Joan, she absolutely loves the saguaro cactus. I mean, these things are massive. They're towering 70-foot giants, and they stand like these gnarly, well-armed sentries just guarding their territory. If you've ever felt like a tiny bug standing underneath one of these things, you know exactly what I mean. And honestly, the saguaro is kind of the perfect visual metaphor for our two main characters. They're deeply rooted, fiercely independent, and incredibly prickly and guarded on the outside. Now, it's March, and the desert is just erupting into these colossal bright yellow balloons of palo verde trees, fuchsia, crepe paper blooms, and orange globe mallows. It's stunning. But for Joan, well, she inherited asthma from her dad and severe allergies from her mom, so this vibrant bloom is an absolute nightmare. The pollen acts as a brutal physical catalyst. She literally cannot breathe. She needs to escape the heat, and she needs to do it right this second. Section 1. Two women on the run, escaping the past.
So, Joan isn't planning to make this epic journey alone. Picture this incredibly unlikely duo. On one side, you have Joan. She's a defiant, impulsive rebel who works as a life coach, though right now she's currently losing a brutal battle with her seasonal allergies. On the other side, we have her close friend, Jenny Crawford. Jenny is a hyper-cautious, crackerjack landscaper. But here's the catch. She isn't cautious by nature. She's cautious because she's a recovering widow who literally had to make a total break from what she calls the family just to stay alive.
Jenny actually had to change her name and build a completely new life from scratch. And everything was going perfectly fine until the family suddenly appeared at her job site out in the middle of nowhere. It forced her to escape all over again. So now she relies heavily on her vintage '71 Chevy pickup to keep her landscaping business completely mobile. She basically has to stay one single step ahead of her past at all times. Look, we all need something to ground us in a present, right? Well, for Jenny, her domain is this little revived vintage Scotsman trailer. And for both of these women, there's an absolutely essential third travel companion, a black and white spotted Chihuahua named Patches. In the midst of their totally chaotic on-the-run lives, Patches is the one keeping them grounded. She catalogs smells, rolls in the dirt, and really, she forces these two women to just stop running for a second and exist in a present moment.
Section 2. The Queen of Denial, Hiding Vulnerability.
While going through the heavy physical chores of preparing to leave, Joan's internal monologue is super fascinating. She tells herself, not only am I the Queen of Denial, I pride myself on being unshockable. She desperately wants to be cool and calm in all situations. But this defiant, rebellious exterior, especially when she's throwing herself into her endless chores, is a really carefully constructed mask. It completely hides her deep fear of emotional vulnerability. Deep down, she is terrified of letting anyone, even Jenny, get too close to her. Think about how absolutely exhausting it is to carry a secret. Now imagine guarding deep, life-threatening secrets while constantly having to look over your own shoulder. Both women are dealing with clients and wanderers out there, people who harbor massive secrets of their own. Guarding all of this adds an immense psychological weight as they try to plan this massive escape. It is some incredibly heavy emotional baggage to haul across the entire country.
Section 3. Gearing up for escape, the logistics of nomadic life.
Surviving a nomadic lifestyle? It means heavy lifting. We're talking exhausting, back-breaking work. Joan has to pack up her vintage Chevy, hitch up that trailer, drag a massive generator out of the shed, harness the thing up, and then crank it into the bed of her truck using a tailgate crane. It is an incredibly intense physical checklist. They are wrestling with heavy mechanical gear just to make it out of the driveway.
And as she wrestles with that tailgate crane to hoist the massive generator, the mechanical struggle perfectly mirrors her internal one. Joan insists on this extreme self-reliance. This is the Queen of Denial at work right here. She literally springs for expensive gadgets like cranes, specifically so she never has to ask a single person for help. She's fiercely guarding her independence, no matter the cost.
But as she's loading that generator, talking out loud to herself, the facade kind of cracks. She poses this terrifying internal question. What if Jenny doesn't want to go? Do I really want to do this 7,000-mile round trip entirely alone? I mean, with no one to share the oohs and ahs? Here we really see her ultimate conflict. It's her deep fear of total isolation, battling right up against her absolute terror of letting Jenny become truly indispensable to her.
Section 4. The Alaska Ferry Dream. Seeking Peace.
3,500 miles. Just think about the longest road trip you have ever taken. Now imagine driving for a solid week straight, just to escape some pollen and your own past. You just don't drive 3,500 miles on a sudden whim unless something very, very heavy is chasing you, or you are absolutely desperate for the peace that's waiting at the end of the road.
Now, Joan uses this really fascinating piece of botanical trivia to justify Alaska to Jenny. She notes that desert plants have these seemingly never-ending roots that reach endlessly downward. But tundra life up in Alaska, it has short, shallow roots over permafrost, living fast and furious right on the surface. It's a tragic but honestly beautiful metaphor for what these women truly want. They want to detach from their deep, traumatic pasts, skate over the permafrost, and live lightly on the surface, entirely untouchable.
But Joan's romanticized speech falls completely flat. Jenny totally zones out during the pitch. For Jenny, who is already literally running from a mob-like family, the idea of heading 3,500 miles into the desolate tundra brings out intense pre-travel jitters. It's a long way away, it is chock full of unknowns, and the rising tension between Joan's impulsive excitement and Jenny's very real anxiety is palpable.
Section 5. An unbreakable hidden bond.
What actually keeps them surviving out there on those dirt roads is an unspoken reliance. They share this deep, hidden vulnerability. I mean, neither of them will readily admit it, but their mutual need for escape, combined with this fierce instinct for mutual protection, forges a friendship that is far stronger than their fear. They're two fiercely independent women who have quietly become each other's entire support system.
Their reality out there is gritty. They are surviving hand-to-mouth, fleeing in vintage trucks, dealing with mysterious hitchhikers. But then, they find these incredible, fleeting moments of profound peace. Sitting on a downed spruce tree by a rushing river, sipping hot tea from a thermos, laughing until they literally cry. It's just two women finding true solidarity in the wild.
And that brings us to a really poignant realization from Jenny. She admits she's just exhausted from living on the move. She says, maybe I need to climb a mountain just to see what's on the other side without looking over my shoulder constantly. It perfectly encapsulates this profound yearning for actual safety and true freedom from the constant looming shadow of a former life.
Joan and Jenny managed to physically outrun their pasts, trading the deep roots of the desert for the shallow permafrost of Alaska. But it begs the question, when you are constantly running, what is the true emotional cost of a permanent escape? It leaves us to ask ourselves, how far would you drive to finally stop looking over your shoulder? Or do you just learn to rely on the person running next to you? Thanks for joining me on this explainer.